Do you struggle coming up with new and thoughtful gifts for Christmas every year? Gifts that are affordable, that people actually like? Well, in today's video, I'm sharing 15 DIY gift ideas that are budget friendly but look like they came from a pricey boutique. So, if you need gift ideas for your friends and family, let's get started.
This first gift idea was inspired by a picture sent to me by a sweet viewer. I'm using a jar of store-bought jam, but you could adapt this to any food item that comes in a jar. Once you decide how you want to decorate the lid, make a coordinating label. I made one that combined the ideas of a snowman and strawberry jam. You can remove any existing labels or just print out your label large enough to cover the existing label. Then decoupage it to the side of the jar using Mod Podge. Brush Mod Podge both on the back of the paper and onto the side of the jar. Then press your label in place, smoothing out any wrinkles. Choose an old Christmas ornament or small figurine to decorate the lid. Attach it using Gorilla Glue clear gel around the edge and hot glue in the center. To make the figurine feel like a natural part of the lid, apply snow text on and around the base of the ornament. Once the snow text dries, it becomes hard and durable. Since I used an ornament, I unscrewed the eye hook on the top, which left a hole in the snowman's hat. So the easiest way to fix it was to hot glue a tiny pom-pom over that spot. Then to finish it off, I added a ribbon. Now it's a cute, reusable gift, perfect for a teacher, coworker, or neighbor. You might want to gift it with a little bag of fake snow to be added to the jar when the jam is gone. My oldest son, Nick, is getting married this weekend. So I thrifted a few newlywed related items that I thought my soon-to-be daughter-in-law would like. When I thrifted this wood box, the lid was taped shut, so I was very surprised to discover there was a clock inside. To make it a little more special, I'm going to make a few changes. First, I popped out the battery-operated clock, and then I applied black wax to the wood. This would hide some of the scuffs and scratches and help to darken the wood tone. Next, I popped the plastic cover off of the clock face and removed the clock hands. Then I peeled off the paper clock face to use as a pattern. I printed out my son's engagement picture in a small size and cut it to fit inside the clock. I pressed it in place to mark the center and then removed it and cut a tiny hole in that spot. Then I put it back in place and added the clock hands back on the center pin. I added a fresh battery and popped the clock back into the wood box. But I wasn't done yet, because I wanted the box to hold an additional gift of jewelry. I thrifted a simple gold necklace with a small charm. I first removed the charm by using needle nose pliers to pry open the jump ring. A few years ago, I thrifted a large piece of coral, and recently a small piece broke off. So I'm going to add it to the necklace using some gold florist wire from Dollar Tree. I just wrapped the wire around the coral a few times and ran it through the jump ring and twisted the wire ends together. I was just guessing that there was some symbolism associated with coral, so I looked it up and discovered that in some cultures, coral is associated with love and passion. So I wrote a little poem and attached it to the top of a necklace box, and then placed the box inside the wood jewelry box. I know you probably don't have a piece of coral, but you could easily turn any small sentimental item into a necklace. The next idea is a fun way to gift a bottle of wine, but I'm using a bottle of champagne for the newlyweds. Instead of decorating the bottle, I wanted to put it in a thrift store lantern that could actually be reused. I just added some greenery and gold berries and tied them in place with ribbon. To make it specific to the newlyweds, I wanted to attach a tag. So I printed out the words, "Open on your 1-month anniversary" onto regular copy paper and decoupaged it to a little piece of craft wood. Use sandpaper to create finished-looking edges. Then drill a hole in the tag and use florist wire to attach it to the lantern. I'm going to bundle all the newlywed gifts together in a thrift store basket so that even the packaging can be reused. I specifically chose this black one because it's large enough to hold the lantern and it coordinates with their living room decor. I'm going to finish it off by adding this new furry pillow cover from IKEA. I thought the newlyweds might also like some fun drinking glasses, and so I picked up a set of 6 at Dollar Tree. I hadn't seen these before. They have heavy glass bottoms and don't look like Dollar Tree glasses at all. For a fun effect, I'm going to make each glass unique by adding a plastic figurine. First, I sprayed the figurines with a food-safe silicone sealer. Make sure to spray them a couple different times from all angles. Once they're dry, glue one animal in the center of each glass. However, I made a huge mistake and used Gorilla Glue, so I'm going to have to redo these because Gorilla Glue is not food safe. So I've ordered a silicone adhesive from Amazon that is food safe. I personally think earrings are a great gift, and they are so easy to DIY. You just need some very inexpensive earring supplies. For these, I'm going to use miniature books made for dollhouses. These are from Amazon, but I've also made them in a previous video. Open the book to the middle and punch a hole through the binding using a large needle or sharp tool. Then pry open a jump ring, push the ring through the hole in the book, and attach an earring hook to the jump ring, and then squeeze the jump ring closed. Because these books are so flimsy, for extra stability, I added a drop of hot glue to keep the pages closed that were next to the jump ring. To personalize these earrings, print out a tiny book cover image of the recipient's favorite book and decoupage it to one or both sides of the dollhouse books. For another earring idea, use an old doily, perhaps one from the thrift store or perhaps one with sentimental value that has just been stored away. Carefully cut out duplicate designs. Then apply Mod Podge to both sides and let them dry. Once the Mod Podge is dry, the doily pieces will be quite stiff, and then you can easily attach jump rings and earring hooks. I think these are so pretty. Did you notice that I was wearing a pair of these at the start of today's video? When I thrifted this lamp, I was drawn to the ornate metal ring that likely once held a glass globe shade. I immediately had the idea that it would make an interesting jewelry stand. To decorate the socket, you can safely hot glue some velvet ribbon around it. Just to be extra safe, I would recommend using an LED bulb. However, I'm going to do something different. I inserted an old brass doorknob into the socket instead. I picked up a few books from the thrift store that I think will make great gifts, but to make them extra special, I'm going to make some bookmarks for each book using velvet ribbon. To give the velvet more heft, fold it in half and hot glue the halves together. To embellish the bookmarks, I used a small piece of metallic-looking ribbon from Dollar Tree on each end, folding it over and hot gluing it in place. To create a hanging embellishment, I ran florist wire through a hole in my chosen embellishment and then added a few beads to the wire. Then I pushed the end of the florist wire through the ribbon just above the metallic ribbon. I twisted the ends of the wire together and cut off the excess and tucked the short ends behind the metallic ribbon. I repeated this process on a second strip of ribbon. This time I reversed the metallic ribbon so that the silver side was on the outside. This green ribbon was a bit longer than the blue piece, so this time I adorned it by pinning on a thrift store angel brooch. Here's another idea for personalizing an inexpensive gift. This time I'm using a small calendar planner from Dollar Tree. To make it unique, print out the image of a favorite book cover to fit the front of the planner. I chose the Little Women cover mostly because it coordinated nicely with the green planner. When decoupaging paper to paper, only apply Mod Podge to one of the surfaces because too much moisture will cause the paper to buckle. It's also a good idea to roll over it with a brayer to push out any excess Mod Podge. I always print out my images a little larger than I need and then cut off the excess. For an extra touch, I decided to add an attached bookmark, so I hot glued the end of a piece of velvet ribbon to the inside of the back cover near the binding. Then to add an adornment to the end of the ribbon, I printed out and decoupaged another Little Women paper image to a small wood craft round, following the same steps that I used for the champagne bottle label. I took a second wood round and hot glued the ribbon through its center. Then I hot glued the decoupaged wood round over the top. I brushed a little Mod Podge over the paper to seal it. You might want to attach a nice pin to the planner. As a former English teacher, I can tell you that the Pilot G2 gel pen is my all-time favorite. My youngest son's girlfriend, Madison, loves to cook, so I thrifted a few kitchen-related items, including a tablecloth, a cookbook, and an unused set of gingerbread hot pads. But the best find had to be these like-new OXO airtight storage containers that cost 4 times what I paid for them. To add to these thrift store finds, I also picked up a little wood frame from Dollar Tree. I like the little label holders that they have on the front. For a handy cooking reference, I printed out a measurement conversion chart to fit inside the frame. It's small enough that it can easily be displayed in a convenient spot. I stuck it in the oven mitt along with a pair of gingerbread spatulas from Dollar Tree and added everything to a thrift store basket. Candles are always a great gift, and I have some ideas for repurposing your old jar candles. Put the jars in an oven set to 200 degrees Fahrenheit for about 20 minutes until the remaining wax melts. Pour the melted wax in an oven-safe pan and wash out your jars. Add additional old candles to create enough wax to fill your jars. Add a wick to your jar. I bought a roll of cotton wick, but you can also buy pre-cut, ready-to-use wicks very cheaply. I like to use a straw placed across the jar so that the wick stays in the center. After you take the pan from the oven, you can add several drops of essential oil for your desired scent. Then carefully pour the wax into your jar. You can also add a piece of crayon if you want to change the color of the wax. For this candle, I waited until the wax was mostly solidified and began adding some small decorative candles to the top. However, I didn't wait quite long enough because they were starting to sink, so I removed them and let the candle set up. Then I used my heat gun to melt just the surface area and then carefully placed the small candles on top. You can also dress up a plain jar by applying a rub-on transfer. I used a holly design from IOD's Yuletide package. For the other jar candle, I wanted to decorate the lid, so I first sanded off the brand name and the clear top coat to achieve a natural wood look. I looked through my stash of Christmas ornaments and miniatures and ended up hot gluing a tree, a miniature rabbit, and 2 small mushrooms to the lid. I felt these items weren't overly Christmassy so that the candle could be used throughout the winter. For another candle idea, I decided to use an empty cereal box as a mold. The box I used was pretty flimsy, so I added several pieces of duct tape to the bottom and lower sides. This time I tied 4 wicks to my straw with the opposite end of the wicks just touching the box bottom. Because my box was so flimsy, the sides began to bulge out as I added the wax, so I put a few cans on either side of the box. I should have used a sturdier box, and I should have let the wax cool a little bit in the bowl before I started pouring it, because the corner of the box did leak. Once the wax solidified, I put the box in the freezer for an hour. This causes the wax to contract so you can easily tear off the cardboard. I think the candle turned out pretty good, but I wanted to decorate it with a William Morris pattern napkin. Peel apart the napkin plies and place the top pattern ply across the candle. Then you can use an iron or a heat gun to heat up the candle so that the wax seeps through the napkin. Fold the napkin over and heat up the sides. Then use a fresh piece of napkin on the back. Trim off any extra napkin along the edges. I used a scrap piece of wood as a candle stand. Just heat up the bottom of the candle a bit so the candle won't slide around on the wood. I came across a large bar of soap at Goodwill and knew that it would make a nice gift. This bar had words on both sides, so I used a sanding block to remove the words from one of the sides. Next, I grabbed the plain ply that I had removed from the William Morris napkin, cut it down to fit on a piece of cardstock, and spray the napkin with pixie spray, a light tack repositional adhesive. Adhere the napkin to the piece of cardstock, making sure to smooth out any wrinkles. Then you can run the cardstock through your printer. I chose a vintage Christmas card image, sizing it to fit on the bar of soap. Once I cut out the image, I realized there were 2 plies to the napkin, so I carefully removed the back ply so that I had just a very thin piece of paper to decoupage on the soap. Just apply Mod Podge to the soap, adhere the napkin, and apply a top coat over the design to help it last longer. The paper will wear away gradually along with the soap as it dissolves. To gift it, I'm going to place it on a thrifted soap dish and doily, and then use a piece of ribbon to tie them together with a coordinating towel. I hope you found today's video helpful in your search for Christmas gifts this year, and I'd love to know if you're going to try any of these ideas. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye for now.